I was in 100 most dangerous people in the United States. I'm the mission guy. I'm looking for the mission and I need to complete that mission. And we ending up in a secret base. Here's the torpedoes, here's the missiles. I'm gonna buy this for $5 million. But I told Tony and Juan that I'm getting this for $10 million. I'm a strong guy, you know, young, looking to make some money. And two guys came from New York, from Brooklyn, two Russian guys, and they were called to take to take money from somebody who owed money. Somebody borrowed the money, and it's a big amount. And at that time, 70,000 Deutsche Mark.
Collections.
Yeah, to collect the money. And they didn't want to do work themselves. They kind of hired me. I was a strong guy, you know, and kind of fearless, and I needed the $2,000 $2,000 they offered me. But I didn't know that the guy that I put in the trunk of the car and extorting money, I didn't know that he was the head of the Russian Mafia in Berlin. I didn't know that. They knew. I didn't know that. Well, the whole story kind of ended up very good. The contract was put on my life, and Italians.
Did you let the guy go? Did you put him in the trunk of the car, drive around a little bit?
I put him in the trunk, and we took out into the forest. And I was planning to keep him there until they're going to bring the money for, you know, ransom. They're going to pay the money that he owed. But like I said again, I didn't know who is the guy. And those guys who recruited me, they knew who he was, and they let him go because they said he's not going to run away. Now, in Germany, they have banks are closed from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. They have, like, you know, fiesta. They're going to sleep. They're having lunch and going to sleep. Really. And then we made a deal. We're meeting by the bank in center of Berlin around 4 o'clock. And I just made the right move, a military move, you know, like 10 minutes before that I stepped out of the car just to observe, to see from outside. And then 3 black Mercedes came with Italian guys' baseball bats, and they destroyed the car and beat the shit out of those guys. And good that I ran away. And I ran to our apartment, but I knew that those guys going to tell where's our headquarters. Grabbed my clothes, and I was trying to get down, you know, from a 3rd floor by the stairs, and I already saw them running up. And I just went upstairs, went to the roof, jumped from one roof to another roof, because the houses, so they're kind of close. And from the fourth apartment building, from the roof, I went down by the elevator, took the taxi to the airport, and flew to my cousin to Köln. And I kind of was hiding there in Köln, and called a friend of mine, and he lived in Copenhagen, in Denmark. And I called him and I said, Gregory, I have a little problem. And he said, please don't tell me that you this guy who beat the shit out of the head of the Russian Mafia in Berlin. I said, but I didn't know who is the guy. They gave me work, but they didn't share with me the info. And he said, well, you have a problem. They put the contract on you. They're going to kill you. And I said, my God, I said, I'm 21 years old. Let's do something about something can be done. And a friend of mine flew from Denmark from Copenhagen to Berlin, made arrangements, and he told me you need to fly in and publicly you need to apologize, and then kind of they're going to leave you leave.
I was actually thinking, what about a heartfully apology?
Like, something like
really,
that. Well,
my bad.
Well, no, but it is a way. It was a way for the apology because I really didn't know. I mean, it was unknown to me who is the guy, which they understood.
Yeah, anyway, Russian mobsters aren't known for being very forgiving.
Well, you know what? If things make sense, that's true. Things need to make sense. They do have a big heart if things make. It's not like Italians, but the Italians were working for the Russian mob in that time in Germany. Anyway, I got in a very beautiful mansion, you know, that I was drove by my friend from airport. And a lot of Italians were there, kind of everybody looked, it was a scary moment. And the guy came out, sat by the table, and I stood up and I said, listen, I do apologize. I didn't know who you are, and I just did the job. I got hired, and he said, listen, I heard about you, and we wanted to hire you because we heard good things about you, and we wanted you to be in our crew. They were doing armed robberies, the jewelry stores in Italy and all over the Europe, and they needed me. And I actually would go and work with them because the money was good, but it didn't come to me. Do you understand? This thing happened before they invited me to the crew.
Yeah.
I apologized, and the guy said that, okay, he accepted apology. The only thing that I cannot live in Berlin any longer. I need to move out of Berlin because he said he's not going to accept that we're going to meet somewhere in some wedding or birthday party or whatever, that he doesn't want to see me in Berlin. And I accepted. And actually was kind of felt a little at ease, felt better. And then when I was walking from the room, one bodyguard of his, huge guy, he said, hey, you. I said, oh, my God. Oh, the fuck I did wrong now, And I turned around, and he came to me, and he said, this guy, the boss sending me a present. And he gave me 2 gold rings. The one that I actually went to make money, I needed the gold rings to buy for my wedding.
Right.
And he gave me a present for me and my wife, 2 gold rings.
Nice.
It was incredible. It was kind of very, I always were thankful to him for that, that he was generous after what I did. And that's how it started. But short version, in that time, I had the Israeli papers, and to stay in Berlin was almost impossible. And I did the fake papers. I made a fake passport. And that's where I got my name, Ludwig, because before it was a Leonid, and then I got my papers for the Ludwig Fainberg. And I found a political asylum refugee camp. Went for political refugee camp, and I went inside. It was protected by German police. And, in the time Berlin was cut in few pieces. That means part of Berlin belonged to German, part of Berlin belonged to Americans, part of Berlin belonged to Russians, and then the French and the English, everybody who participated in a war. And for me, I was supposed to go through the all security, like a CIA. That means I went through the CIA, which didn't detect. I have a false paper. I went through M16, MI6, the English, security service.
Right.
They didn't detect that I have a false paper. To Germany, I passed all the stations.
And this is all just to be able to stay there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And they said that, okay, I can stay there. And I was supposed to get already German papers, the German housewives. And the lady who was running that closed refugee camp, she was the SS lady. She spoke Russian because she spent a lot of time in Russian jails. Hated Russians. And, I was skinny, blonde, because I was in the Navy. I was diving a lot, and because of the hair, when you dive, the hair is getting a little blonde, because of the, how do you call it? What do you have in the tanks?
Salt water, chlorine.
Oh, maybe.
Chlorine?
No. In the tanks. What do you breathe?
The oxygen?
Oxygen. The oxygen is, make your hair blonde.
Okay.
Anyway, blue eyes, skinny, blonde, and she was telling me, you're real German, Ludwig.
Yeah.
And I said, jawohl. Yeah, I was a real German. Anyway, everything went smooth. Okay, I started doing work. I started doing this. And
what is work?
You remember before we start talking, I like smart people, because you're asking the right question. Work is a very interesting situation where the work happened. I needed to come up with the idea who I wanted to be. That means basically you could choose anything, who I really want to work. Now, I've finished military service. Who am I? Am I a killer, boxer, professional, what? And decided I knew a little bit in electrician, and I said, let me be electrician. I went to that lady who was making fake papers. I paid 200 Deutsche Mark, and she made it. I finished some kind of courses for the electrician, and I'm electrician. And for 2 years, I was working as electrician in St. Petersburg, Russia. And I went to that government entity, who is, I don't know how it's called exactly. And I applied those papers, and they took my, the name and everything, and they said they're going to find a job for me as an electrician. And they gave me a check. It was a check for average amount of money what the electrician made. In the time, I received the check 1,800 Deutsche Mark. And when I was coming down, I met a friend of mine, who was standing right there, and he said, "Hey, man, how you doing? Hey, what profession you took?" And I said, "Electric." And he said, "You fucking dumb ass. What do you mean? You're going to work in a factory? Who's going to deal with you?" And in that time, the social level, social letter, was very, very important. Hypothetically, if I'm electrician and you doctor, we cannot hang together because you doctor, you're hanging with the doctors.
Right.
And me, I'm working as in a factory. I'm hanging with the guys from the factory.
Blue collar work.
Exactly. And I said, "What do you mean? Who could I be?" He said, "Choose anything. You can be you. How about the dentist? I'm going to make you a dentist." A dentist? I said, "I do not understand nothing." He said, "It's irrelevant. You don't need to understand. I'm going to teach you how to be a dentist." I said, No. Dentist, I'm a little scared because I was so strong that when I was walking on the street, I had the feeling that I'm going to come to the tree, take the tree and pull it out. I was very, very strong physically. And I was taking a shot glass to drink vodka. I could break that glass in my hand. Happened. And I said to him, "No, dentist, no." And I said, "And what profession you took?" And he said, "I took a profession. I'm a gynecologist." I said, "What do you mean gynecologist?"
I already have extensive experience.
Exactly. And he was, you're not going to believe, his profession, he was working as a steward. Steward, that means it's like stewardess, how do you call this? Fly attendant.
Yeah.
But he was in a train. He was, train attendant or whatever, who was serving in a train tea or was serving some food. And he said, "Man, I saw so much of that stuff." And he decided to be a gynecologist. And he became a gynecologist. And he said, "But no, hold on. How about you going to become dental technician?" And I said, "Is this easier?" He said, "Much easier." I went to that lady, paid another 200 Deutsche Mark, and she made that I finished Moscow Medical University, and that I was working as a dental technician. Now, with those papers, I'm going back to that office, and I didn't want that lady to see me. I'm standing in a different window. But Germans, like I said, they're very, they told me, no, you need to go to that window. That's your window. I went to that, and she said, "Hold on a second. 3 days ago, you came here with the papers that you're an electrician." I said, "Yes, that's true, but it was a hobby. Electrician, my hobby. But I am a dental technician." And of course, I gave her the paperwork, and she looked, and Germans, they're so, particular that, let's say, if you have a paperwork and you're giving her, it says the one who gave you he's black. It's irrelevant that you're white. The paper said it's black. Mm-hmm. That means you're black. Maybe you're black inside, maybe you're black somewhere, but you're black. And she took the paper and she took my check, $1,800, and gave me a check for $2,800 as a average salary of a dental technician.
Okay.
And that's it. And then after a while, 2 months passed by, they send me a letter that we're waiting for you in dental laboratory. Show up and start working.
So they gave you a job. They found you a job.
They found me a job, yeah. And then I went to my first job, and I told them that I was ice skating, and I fell and I hit my head. Here I remember, and here I do not remember too much. And I said in Russia was completely different thing. Teach me, guide me. And they start, with that, I need to mix that stuff for the models, you know, the plaster or whatever, how you call this.
Yeah.
And but I didn't
for
know
the molds.
The
molds.
Yeah, for the mold. And I start mixing that material, but I didn't know it's fast.
Dries fast. Yeah.
I tried a few times, and that sticks left inside that material. Anyway, they kept me for 3 days, and they threw me out. But the next laboratory, I already knew how to mix. And the next laboratory, and the next laboratory, and the seventh laboratory, I become highly professional.
Right.
I was teaching people how to be a dental technician. And when I end up in some point in New York, I bought 2 dental laboratories, one in Queens, one in Brooklyn. That was very, very good. I was the best of it because me, you know, when I'm taking something, I'm doing it or I'm not doing. But if I'm doing this, I'm doing this 200%.
Yeah, so I'm all in.
Exactly. Well, and then what followed? That old lady that was making false paper for everybody, she got caught by somebody told on her. She got caught, and that old lady, just to make sure that she remember everybody who she gave the false papers, she was writing all the names and the telephone numbers. And around 800 people were arrested, including me. And I was arrested. I was put in jail, and it was one of the oldest jails in Germany. In Berlin, it's called Moabit jail. It's a round jail, Moabit. And I spent over there 6 months. And there came time I could defend myself. And I made a tremendous story because I was going with my story that my father was German, and he died in a Russian jail. And anyway, I didn't need the lawyer. I defended myself. And, 12 people that were in the jury after my story, they were crying with the tears like that, and they let me go. They believed my story. I made up a story, and they believed it. But the story was good. I almost also cried. The story was very, very. I like to make believable stories. And anyway, they got released, and I needed to go every month to sign until I'm gonna get some type of paperwork. And I wasn't waiting too long. I met some girl, and her parents told me, let's move to Canada. And we moved to Canada, to Toronto. We moved to Toronto, and everything actually was okay until...
How old are you at this point?
21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 22. And then we moved to Toronto, and then in Toronto I realized that, again, kind of a little fuck-up happened. And the girl that we were together with, she was a nymphomaniac. And a nymphomaniac I saw only in the movies. On the movies, you don't meet too many nymphomaniacs. Did you meet any nymphomaniacs?
No.
I met. I happen to be like, with me, a lot of things happen, that nothing do not happen to any other normal people. And the girl was nymphomaniac. And I needed to perform every 4 hours. She was waking me up like, 10 in the evening, and the next time it's 2 in the morning. And then it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And then it's 10 o'clock. And I couldn't work any longer.
It's hard to work a regular job.
I was going to bring a lunch to work, and we were having sex in a ladies' room or in a men's room or whatever. It's a sickness. It sounds like a little fun from the beginning.
I want to feel bad for you.
Please do. Please do. And it was a tough situation. I ran away from her. To New York. And in that time in New York, my mother lived in New York, my father lived in New York, my brother lived in New York. And I came to Little Odessa in Brighton Beach. Came to Little Odessa, and then I found a lot of people that I knew from Israel. And one of the guy who actually was one of the main guys in my future story, his name was Gregory Roises, with the nickname of Cannibal. They were calling him Cannibal because one time he got arrested on Brighton Beach, and he was kind of talking back and forth to the policeman, and then he bite piece of the nose of the policemen. And it was a it's a true story, by a piece of the nose, and they called him Cannibal. And this guy played a big role. He put me to work in a furniture store as a driver and, carrying furniture, putting the furniture together. And at the time, I didn't know that I would start working for the Gambino family because the owner of the store was a cousin of John Gotti.
Okay.
And I was doing, like I said, when I'm doing something, I'm doing good. And I was doing great work. And after a while, it was a very famous story. I don't know, you probably never heard about that. It's called Pizza Connection. That all the Italian pizzerias were selling drugs.
Yeah.
And they collecting the money. And then, because they were making deliveries of pizza anyway, they were delivering everything.
Yeah. And the FBI wired the whole place up.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And I was working for that syndicate as a Pizza Connection. I had upstate New York, where I was supposed to go and collect money from all the pizzeria and to bring to my boss. And Italians really didn't like it, that a Russian guy collecting the money from them. But I was a very trusted guy. And then after a while...
Are you still putting together furniture?
Say it again?
Are you still putting together furniture?
Yes, okay. Yes. I actually enjoyed it, because I always said to myself, why do people paying for gym? Here I'm getting money and I'm carrying a furniture. My muscles were huge. I liked the job. And I mean, it was difficult, but I learned English. I learned this, I learned that. It was cool. And in some point, the owner of the store called me and he said, we do have a situation and I need your help. And he told me that they bringing from Italy a lot of furniture and putting this in the warehouses. And now, by the time, already a few Russian furniture stores open. And they didn't want to buy from him the furniture. And he asked me to help him to make those guys realize that they do want to buy furniture from my boss. Anyway, we did some arson jobs. At least 3 stores. I'm responsible for burning 3 stores. And it was like, again, I liked it because it was a military operation, not that much of money. I was missing the operation. I was missing to be involved in something interesting. And it was dangerous, a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the few people I met in prison for arson, like, that's a serious charge. It's not like a 3-year stint. Like, these guys are getting 15 years.
Yeah, but I never got caught for that.
Right.
Never got caught because we were doing the right way. We were going to the restaurant. We were spending a lot of money in the restaurant. We were ordering very expensive food. We were throwing money left and right. And then we were once in a while going out to smoke, cigarette. And in one of those going outside to smoke cigarette, we jump in a car, wear a black clothes, black hood, and going to the furniture store, making holes, putting the gasoline inside, start burning. And then I was telling the rest, the firefighters doing the rest of the job. They putting all the foam inside and the water, and they're destroying completely everything.
Right.
They we kind of work together. Sometimes I even want to share my money with the firefighters because they actually were doing 70% of the job.
And then you go back to the restaurant. You've got an alibi.
Exactly. We
he
had
was here the whole time.
Absolutely. We did this pretty good. And
there's no cameras back then.
No, of course, nothing. We're talking about 82, 83, nothing there. Then it came a time that I become kind of a little more famous in a Russian community, and people came and offered me to take over a few places to start extorting money from the businesses. And we started extorting money. I remember first time I came with a crew of 4 guys. We came with the Hummers, went to the store. It's a supermarket, small supermarket on Brighton Beach. Came to the owner and I said that from today he's going to pay every Friday $1,000. And the guy said, get the fuck out of here. And we broke whatever possible in the restaurant with the Hummers destroyed completely. And next Friday he had the envelope with $1,000, and we didn't hurt anybody. It was kind of a game. As long as, in my opinion, I didn't hurt anybody physically, you know, that was good.
And this is the Russian mob in Brighton Beach that's shaking these guys down, or is it just you guys?
No. It's you know what? Very difficult to say Russian mob. We were hooligans. You understand? Russian mobs were into the millions. They were robbing insurance companies. They were robbing, you know, government. They were robbing.
Yeah, they're doing like pump and dump scams, real estate
gasoline, that. That was for kids. What we were doing is peanuts. What is $1,000, you know, for 4 guys a week? I mean, it's nothing just to buy nice clothes, you know, nice shoes and socks, and that's it, to take your girlfriend out for ice cream.
You get 10 of those guys paying, and it's a lot of money.
Well, yeah, we didn't have more than 10 guys.
Okay.
I mean, we had, you know, it was not kind of that we took over New York, you know. Because actually it was something to learn. You know, I'm always saying it's a big mistake to call Russians mafia. Mafia, it's Italians. Italians is organized crime, organized. Russians is disorganized crime. You understand? A lot of people can go and extort the same guy because it's an organization who's saying, yes, you can extort this. I opened a video store in Brooklyn on Shipshead Bay. And I opened a store. 20 minutes after opening, I had the guy washing my window, you know, on a little ladder. And I came out and I said, how you doing? And he said, hey, Leo, my name is Charlie. I said, how you doing, Charlie? I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm cleaning your window. I said, good, but you didn't ask me. And he said, I'm not supposed to ask you. He said, that street will belong to my grandfather. Then is the street belong to my father. Now the street belong to me. I don't need to ask you. I'm coming and I'm washing for $5 a window every week. I said, are you sure I'm the owner? He said, no, it's not up to you. And I tell him, Charlie, take your fucking letter, get out of here before I'm going to break your legs. And Charlie said, hey, Leo, are you sure? And I said, I'm sure. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, coming next morning, my window is broken. Mm-hmm. Calling insurance, police, making a report. I'm paying $800 deductible. Insurance paying $1,200. You know, by the middle of the day, they're putting my big window. It's a video store. They're putting my window. 15 minutes passing by. Charlie standing with a small ladder and washing my window. I'm come out and I said, Charlie, listen, I'm not born yesterday. I understand the story. I understand the situation. But let me tell you, it's a new sheriff in town. Russians here. And he said, Leo, you don't understand. The street belonged to my grandfather, then to my, now it's mine. You cannot understand it. I said, Charlie, before I'm going to break your legs, this is the last time I'm telling you that. Next time you're going to be crippled. Charlie said, no problem. Left next morning, I'm coming. Smashed window. Calling police, making a report, paying $800 deductible. And now I'm already $1,600 down the hole. The insurance said that I'm a high risk. They're not going to insure me any longer. And they came, put the window. And 20 minutes later, Charlie standing and washing my window. I couldn't believe this. And I came out already with a baseball bat and I'm aiming and I want to break his legs. And when I'm doing like that, I see 4 guys coming from a kind of like big guys coming to me and say, hey, Leo, what don't you understand? That belonged to his grandfather. Now it's Charlie Street. Pay him that fucking $20 a week. I said, what do you mean 20? He said 5. He said, no, 5 it was before. Now it's a 20. That's organized crime. I had that store for 3 years. 3 years I paid $20 a week to clean the window. You understand? That story with the Russian mafia, it's a made-up story. Maybe it's not exactly a name for that, but like I said, it's a hooligans. And the people that's stealing big money, you know, from a government or whatever, it's the business people. The dirty business people.
I've been using Mando's whole body deodorant, and let me tell you, you can use it anywhere. Pits, balls, thighs, and even your feet. Mando's powered by mandelic acid, so it stops odor before it even starts. It blocks odor all day. I'm talking 72 hours. I love the scents too. My favorite is bourbon leather. It smells amazing. You can choose from other fresh options like Cloverwood and Mount Fuji. And the best part, no baking soda, no parabens, just clean, safe deodorant for your whole body. I've added Mando to my daily routine, and honestly, I feel fresher and more confident. It works way better than just showering alone. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid deodorant stick, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. You'll get 40% off your starter pack if you use code COX at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Once again, that's shopmando.com and use the promo code COX.
But not Mafia. It's not something, like I said, again, organized. A couple of people like me and you getting together, and I'm telling you, hey, let's rob the studio. I'm going to steal the microphone. You're going to steal the camera. Are we Mafia? Me and you, we're Mafia. We just thieves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's why it's wrong to say. But anyway, in some point, they put me to be a collector for the Italians. I was collecting money from the Russians and breaking a lot of things. I didn't touch the people, but I had a friend of mine, big dude. He was beating the people up, and then in some point one day he didn't show up to work, and I went to see him. His door was open and he was shot. And that was the kind of ring to me the time to move on.
Did you ever, was there a specific reason he got
no,
shot?
Well, he got shot by somebody. They never found who he got shot by, but I actually knew that, somebody from the people that he beat the shit out,
Caught up money.
With them. Yeah, just somebody paid back. And the other way, they could shoot me too, but we kind of, I didn't touch people. I told you, for me, it was kind of important, to stay back with that. And I decided I went to talk to Gambinos in that time. And I said, I'm planning to move to Miami. And I said, hey, a green light, you have go a green light, we're behind you. I had very interesting situation. I was given a present in some point, a furniture store in Italian area in Bay Ridge, New York. And I hired a salesman who speak Italian because majority of the people spoke only Italian. And I remember we had the story that some old lady, but almost we were closing a store, the old lady came and she was arguing with my sales guy, and his name was Vincenzo. And I said, Vinny, well, what are you guys arguing? And he said, the lady won a mattress. I said, sell her the fucking mattress. And the guy said, no, she wants this for free. I said, what do you mean she wants this for free? She wants this for free. She wants us to give her a mattress now, and when her son going to come from college, he's going to pay. I figure out the guy went to college in upstate New York, someone going to come. So, but it was irrelevant. I have so many mattresses, and they were refurbished mattresses. She needed twin size, small mattress for $25. I said, what the hell? And I put the mattress on my van, and I delivered it. I put it on her bed. She gave me a hug and gave me a kiss, and she was so thankful. And she said, the son going to come and going to pay. But I never saw the son. That mean, it was, I moved out from that store. I sold the store. And then I already had the video store 2 years later. Some guy like a Luca Brazzi walk inside the store. Huge motherfucker. Like look up, like that, square face. And he said, hey, who is Leo? Oh my God, again, those fucking Italians. And I said, I'm a Leo. And he said, hey, Leo. And I want to shake his hand. And the guy came and he gave me a hug that in the back of my back, I heard, my all the ribs, he almost broke my ribs. That was the son of that lady.
Okay.
And I said, hold on a second. You're like around your 50s. What college? He said, hey, Italian college is a jail. Jail is a college for Italians.
Right.
We're going to college. Anyway, and he said, I owe you. And I said, come on, you don't owe me nothing. And he became my good friend. He was coming every week, Wednesday, bringing me coffee and a bagel with a cream cheese. And we were talking, And I was telling I only knew his name was Frankie. And I said, Frank, what are you up to? What are you doing? And he said, well, I have 80 different businesses. 80 different businesses. I already kind of understood what he's doing, and, but I didn't know who he is. Frankie. And then I remember they hired my rent for $1,000. And I was very, very upset because, I was renting those cassettes, those black cassettes for the VCR.
Yeah.
If you remember.
VHS.
VHS, yeah.
VCR, VHS,
yeah. And how many of them I need to rent 500 more times to get this for $2, to make the rent. Yeah, I was very upset. And Frankie came and I told him a story. He said, hey, Leo, give me 5 minutes. And he went over there and he said, I spoke to a guy. He made a mistake. And they lower your previous rent to $500 less. They made a mistake. I spoke to them. I explained. I said, thank you, Frankie. And then I was kind of back and forth. He was helping me a few little things over there. And I had one serious problem in Bay Ridge. It's kind of a long story, but it's ended up that I went to Frankie and I said, Frankie, my partner at some point borrowed the money from Italians. Now they couldn't find my partner, and they came to me to ask me for the money and told him that I owed them $60,000. I said, I have nothing to do with that. I never took the money. It was not for me. My partner took, but they cannot find the partner. They're trying to get the money from me. And Frankie said, give me 3 days. I said, take it 3 days. And then I'm in my video store, a phone call and somebody crying, Leo, please come here. That's the guy who was trying to get the $60,000 from me.
Right.
He was crying on the phone, and I said, oh my God. And he said, please come here to my store in the Bay Ridge. We need to talk. And I said, oh, fuck. What a situation. And I called my wife and I said, honey, I'm taking off for a month vacation to Aruba. And she said, what is the problem? And I said, the problem that I spoke to Frankie, and Frankie went over there. I don't know what they did, but the guy is waiting for me in his store and he's crying. I said, doesn't sound very good. And my wife said, hey, go home, grab the shotgun, take your friend with the machine gun, grab another 2 guys with the machine guns, and go there and settle things. I said, I'm too young to die. I'm 24, 20. And she said, no, go and finish this. My wife.
She sounds like a gangster.
She is. And I want to tell you something, and it was incredible story. We went over there. Now I'm going to try to explain to you, and you're going to see it with me. It's a movie. It's a limo, big limo standing in front of the store. And it's a home hardware store. And big limo, and it's blocked by the 2 Mercedeses, from the sides. I'm walking inside the store, and the owner of the store, the guy that was trying to get $60,000 from me, he's on his knees, and he's bald, and he has blood coming from his head right here, the blood comes here, and he's standing on his knees, and a guy the same size like this one standing on his knees, a short guy, with a big tie, with a big revolver like that, revolver huge, and the long term, and on the bottom, on how do you call this thing that you
silencer? No, the laser beam or the
no, the thing on the top of the gun. You have the how do you call this?
Oh, the sights.
When you aim, you're looking at this thing.
Yeah, a scope,
or whatever. And he's hitting him on the head with that scope. You understand?
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's hitting him with the thing, and the blood comes out. And the guy tell me, I see him, and then his wife in the end of the store with the guy who's holding a shotgun, and another guy with a shotgun. I looked and I said, oh my God. And that little guy tell me, hey, Leo, tell a story. How come you owe him a $60,000? And I told the story. I said, I never took the money from a guy. I didn't know about that money. My partner probably borrowed from him, but now they're trying to, it took off. They're trying to collect from me. And he tell me, Antonino, is this true? And he said, yeah, but they owe me money. And the guy said, okay, now, Antonino, you owe Leo $60,000. You only owe you owe Leo 60,000 and pay now. Now Italian guy, that one who's underneath with the blood, he's telling his wife, he's screaming to his wife to bring the money. That's what I understood. Now she's going downstairs in the cellar, and coming out, and I see the picture. She's coming holding $60,000 in a hand like that, and she comes, and before she's giving me the money, she, she's spitting on the money. And she tell me that tomorrow they're going to find you in the pieces in the trunk of your car. And in that moment, click, I said, I'm not going to take the money. They don't owe me nothing.
Yeah.
Was it? And I said to the little guy, you know what? I don't want the money. Let him have it or take it for Frank. That's how it ended up. I walked out. Everything was peace, nothing. And Frank got the $60,000. He was very happy. They shared between the guys, But he was doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
One day, after we were friends for almost a year, one day, he didn't show up on Wednesday. And a friend of mine called me. He said, you need to look at the New York Times. In that time was no internet,
Yeah.
And I looked in New York Times and... it was, then I realized the name. His name was Frankie Santoro. He was a captain for the Banana family. And he got killed. They shot somebody from the maid guys, some guy by the name Carmine, and they were sitting in a restaurant together. And they shot Frankie.
They shot him just because he was sitting next to the guy?
Yeah. Frankie was an incredible guy. I always have his pictures, his pictures with me. Incredible guy. And was a good friend. And I want to go for a funeral, and they told me, don't go, it's going to be FBI all over the place. And I didn't go for funeral. And then, like 6 months later, it was his daughter's sweet 16. I was invited, and me and my wife, we went for sweet 16, and it was a strange commotion when we kind of walked in, people start moving, and then I realized it's a line of 10, 12 guys on the right-hand side. And when I was passing by, and I'm 24, 25, but then I was passing by, everybody was grabbing my hand and kissing my hand. And I took my hand, I felt so uncomfortable in there. They were kissing my hand. And I said, what is this? And they said, the respect to Frank. Frank said that I'm like his family, like his brother. And they all paid the respect to me. Later on, they helped me a lot. We did a lot. I think those people still alive. Don't ask me nothing about those people. I cannot say anything. But it's incredible. That's a story to me.
That whole relationship came from you giving her the mattress.
Yeah, but that's how it is usually. Those little things, the relationship start. Yeah, and of course I miss this guy a lot. Anyway, then at some point when my partner got killed, I realized I want to move to Miami. And in Miami, I had a good reason to move because my grandmother came here to get married. My grandmother was 93 and the husband was 95. And they got married, and I'm always was trying to make sure. I said, Grandma, be honest with me. You got married because of the green card? And she said, no, because I got pregnant. Well, I lived here for a while, and then my life,
What was the plan? What was the plan when you moved to Miami? Like,
I didn't have no plan. I just want to move, run away from New York. It was run away from New York, run away from a second wife, and into the third wife.
The gangster?
Yeah.
That seems like a...
Oh, no, that lady
could have gone bad.
That lady was a very special lady. She was married before me to a guy who got 25 years for the armed robberies, and she kind of lived a very heavy-duty life. Very interesting life, too. And I moved here. I moved actually to Kendall That was my first place where I moved.
What year was that?
It was 88. Moved to Kendall and was looking for job and found, I didn't know so many Spanish-talking people here, like almost 90%. And they were asking me, do you speak Spanish? And I said, yeah, because I knew a few bad words, they checking me, you speak Spanish? I said, yeah, puta, la gran puta, whatever, mierda. And happened to be that everybody speaks Spanish here. I got a job in some company and they fired me after 3 days because I couldn't speak. And I went to that guy, that rented the house here in Kendall, and I told him, listen, I need to give the house back. In that time, I rent 2-bedroom house in 88, 2-bedroom house with a pool. It was $600. That was the time to leave. And he told me, listen, let's make a deal. Do you know how to paint? And I told him, you got lucky. I'm painting all my life. And I said, how smart you need to be to paint? And he said, I'm paying like $1,500 to paint a 3-bedroom apartment. Would you paint this for $1,000? That I want to steal $500 for myself. I'm talking open to you. And I said, well, let me try. And I went to Home Depot, paid $25, take 3-hour course of a painting, and I become a very famous painter.
Right.
And they told me what to buy, what material, what paint, what this, what that. And I painted the apartment for 2 days. 2 days and 2 nights I actually slept over there. I painted the apartment, make $1,000. I calculated. I made $200 a day. I rent the house for $600 a month, and I made $200 a day painting. And I said, something is wrong here. He went, he checked, he liked it, and then I took second apartment to paint. I painted second apartment, and I already had the brushes. The paint was so good, thick, I added a little water, that it was enough to paint another apartment. And I made $250 a day. I said, unfucking believable. I love this country. America is a country of opportunity. It's incredible to make $250 a day to paint. How's this? I couldn't, the math didn't come to me. And then I took the third apartment and I made again $250. Then I went to some Chinese guy, bought a little pickup truck, old pickup truck for $200. Went to downtown Miami, under the bridge where was all the Cubans and the Haitians standing over there looking for job. And I screamed, 3 people for paint. And 3 Cuban guys jumped in the car. We went, I showed them the work, get them sandwich, bottle of Coca-Cola, and went to South Beach. Was sitting, drinking a cocktail in South Beach, and I said, wow, what a country. And this day, they painted, of course, in 1 day, those 3 Cubans. I made $500. And next week, I opened a company called Progressive Maintenance and was start making money. Was doing great. Everything was beautiful. Life started getting better, start doing completely everything possible here repairing. And then met some guy. He was a general manager in one of the strip clubs. And he was from England. Met the guy. And we both shared that we had the dreams to open a nightclub. And we decided to open a heavy metal nightclub. But we didn't know that we chose the place in Hialeah. But Hialeah, it's only 100% Cubans. And we opened a heavy metal club over there. And when I saw after a week that not one person showing up, I said to myself, no, let me get away from this,
Did you switch themes, or what'd you do?
No, I just said, I don't want to be involved anymore. I realized I started asking people, Hialeah, like, you don't know where's Hialeah. It's like 100% Cuban. You understand what kind of heavy metal? If it would be salsa, bachata, I don't know, merengue maybe. But anyway, I left, but the guy who rented us that place, his name was Bill Seidel. Bill Seidel was a very wealthy man. He owns at that time Bill Seidel Nissan, Bill Seidel Suzuki, Bill Seidel Mitsubishi, and then in Atlanta, I think he owned Chevrolet and some other cars. Very famous guy. And he called me one day, and we spoke, and we become very, very friendly. And over the time, this guy become like my father, like a father figure, and he was helping me. I remember he called me to his office. He was calling me boy, and he told me, boy, get your ass here. And I come to his office. He said, listen, I want to make a millionaire out of you. Two things: never ask me for money to borrow, and listen to me religiously. I'm just going to give you example. What is this religiously? When I start already making some money, and I'm 26, 27, no, 28 by now, yeah. And I start making money. I went and I got myself a bike, like Ninja ZX-10, Kawasaki, speed bike. And I loved it. Me, long hair, build night, girls were, standing in the line for me. And I loved it so much. And then one day I end up in downtown Miami. I'm stopping in a red light, and this guy standing in his, convertible Rolls Royce. And he's looking at me, and he told me, boy, is this your bike? I said, no, Bill. He said, just in case if it's yours, you're going to sell tomorrow. I said, yes, Bill. And I sold the bike after a week I had. That's called religiously. And when he called me to his office, he told me, sit down, take a piece of paper, pen, put the ad in Miami Herald, again, in that time only newspapers, put the ad in Miami Herald, one man junk, another man treasure. To me as a Russian, it made no sense, 0 sense. If I would read that ad, one man junk, another man treasure, I just would kind of pass by and meaningless to me. But for the Americans, means something. And 3-4 days I was sitting by the phone. Then the phone rang first time, and some guy told me, hey, did you put the ad? I said, yeah. He said, come over. I have 10 boxes. I closed the gift shop. I want to get rid of this. I went and I got 10 boxes of brand new stuff. Then somebody else called. Then somebody else called. Then somebody else called. And in about 2 months, I had 6 trucks driving with the name, I call this Tarzan House of Bargains. And 6 trucks were picking up stuff all over Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
So, well, real quick, since you mentioned Tarzan, I was kind of waiting for that to evolve. Had you already had the name Tarzan?
I got the name Tarzan in Israel. I had the long hair, and I jumped, for the picture of the class, end of the school, I jumped from a 2nd floor. And I still have this picture, can show you that picture now. And I jumped, and somebody said, wow, you look like Tarzan. And I didn't speak no Hebrew. And one day I needed to go to a hospital, and the lady from school took me to a hospital and asked, what's his name? And the lady said, Tarzan. And they put in the hospital Tarzan. And then Tarzan, it became like, when I went to the military service, I got my paperwork, and it says Tarzan, and my last name. And I said, hold on, guys. I cannot go with the name Tarzan. And they said, we cannot change all the paperwork on the name Tarzan. And I've been through the military. You know how many high-ranking officers I met who came just to meet me because of the name Tarzan. And I have till today people, my friends, who doesn't even know my real name. They're only calling me Tarzan.
Right.
That's kind of with me. I mean, I could have changed. I could have, but, just always that name with me. Everybody liked the name, and it stuck.
Yeah. And, well, I've never met anybody with the nickname Tarzan, but everybody knows the name.
Yeah.
So you had the trucks.
I had the trucks, picking up the stuff and bringing into the warehouse, and I opened a flea market, and I will start making good money. We're talking about 89, the whole year I was working, was doing good. And then Bill called me, and he said, hey, Tarzan. He was calling me just Tarzan. He was telling me, hey, Tarzan, let's go. I rented my place to some redneck, and he's opening a strip club over there. let's go with me to grand opening. And I said, Bill, I'm all dirty. I'm in a warehouse all day long for me to go to Kendall to change. And he said, no, let's go. Come over, I'm waiting for you. Anyway, I came to him. We went to grand opening of the strip club. And in the grand opening day, in the evening, the owner of a strip club got into the fight with one of the customers. And the police came and they separated them, and the owner got arrested. And me and Bill, we came out, from the building, and Bill is asking officer, he said, son, for how long this gentleman is going? And the policeman pressed the button of the computer, and it's like, he said, Bill, he's wanted in 18 states, credit card fraud, check frauds, these frauds, that. He said, he's going for a while. And Bill turned to me and said, boy, take over, it's yours. That's how I become owner of a strip club. I owned the club almost 10 years.
What was the name of the club?
In that time I remember, but I renamed it because
I
renamed it to Porky's, because the original movie was filmed and I loved movie Porky's,
right.
And it was filmed in Miami, on that location, and I called the place Porky's, and it was so outstanding, and it was incredible. And of course I hired a lot of guys and people, and very good people. And then came to me, Italians sent from New York some kid that was running away. He was involved in a shootout and a beating of a guy in Queens. And they sent this guy, and he became like my manager, my right hand. His name is Fat Tony. One day I'm gonna tell him about this guy. I hope we're gonna have a podcast together with him. He's a hilarious guy, very, very funny. Anyway, become the owner of a strip club, and things got very, very interesting. After a while, I become president of the strip clubs of Florida. In that point, and then
there's an association of.
It was right now they don't exist, but in that time, yeah. And then I opened a third in the world porno site. Then I opened a swinger club.
Is the strip clubs making that kind of money that you're?
Tremendous.
Okay.
Tremendous. Incredible, because the girls dancing, they're selling liquor, customers observe, drinking liquor. The girls paying to work in my club, and things were incredible. Very, very nice. And money was coming from everywhere. Bill was introducing me. I remember we were sitting in his son's wedding, and it was a separate table. And Bill came to the stage and said, I want to thank, Chief Police of Miami, Mr. Anderson, that he came to a wedding of my son. I want to thank Senator Clayshaw. I want to thank Congressman Lehman. I want to thank Tarzan. I want to thank, because we all were sitting. It was the time to live in Miami. It was a lot of fun. We're going out, me and Madonna and Vanilla Ice, and I remember I almost threw out Sting from a club. He was trying to be nasty. I came to check his ID. We knew it's Sting, but I came to check his ID, and he was not happy. And I remember he signed my T-shirt. He signed the T-shirt, for Tarzan. And I gave present to somebody. I didn't care about Sting. He's a nice guy probably, but it's not my. I'm not fan. A lot of people famous came. Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal came to my club. A lot of Russian musicians. A lot of. Then I opened a Russian restaurant. When I opened a Russian restaurant, it was a really cool story about the swingers. Because I opened a swinger club. And the owner of my restaurant calls me and he said, listen, some strange things just happened. Some guy came and they want to book a party for swingers. I said, swingers in a Russian restaurant? I said, hold on a second, let me talk to him. And he gave me his telephone, and I'm called Paul. I said, Paul, how are you? My name is Tarzan, and I have a great news for you. I just opened a swinger club, and he said, "Oh my God, congratulations! Where?" And I tell him, "We're in Doral," and he told me, "Incredible." I said, "Club Silk," and he was so happy, and he said, "Wow!" And I told him, "Listen, Paul, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my swinger club. First of all, we give to every couple, free bottle of champagne. We're giving free condoms." We're giving, whatever you need. We have a latest porno library, and we have the latest movies, and sometimes, porno stars visiting my place to throw a show, and I have a great connection in the porno industry. And then for some reason, the guy got quiet, and I'm a good salesman. My mom said I could sell snow to Eskimos, and
right.
And the guy is not buying it. He's not biting. And I said, "Paul, are you not happy with something?" And he's telling me, no, I heard what you said. That's good. Congratulations. But we would prefer a Russian restaurant. I said, "Oh my God," after everything I told him, they would prefer a Russian restaurant. And I said, "How many people you are?" And he said, we are 50 people. I said, "Oh my God. Paul, I cannot even imagine 50 people in my restaurant. I mean, I'm walking in and 50 people fucking on the dance floor." I said, "I cannot picture it." And he said, "Fucking? We're not fucking." He said, "We are swing dancers."
Oh.
Kind of didn't go the right way. A lot of interesting stories, a lot of fights, a lot of shooting, a lot of drugs in the club. In that time, it was drunk cowboys, and people were coming and spending a night $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Those drug guys, and the club was doing great. Everything was beautiful. Everything was, and then at some point, Bill presented me a boat, 42-foot Tempest speedboat. And then we had some problem with the engines, and he told me, "Oh, I know this guy, go and repair in his place." And that was Juan. Juan owned the Fort Apache Marina in North Miami in Aventura. And with the boat, I went to Juan, and we met, and we started talking. And he got interested that I have a strip club, and I interested in what he has. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I saw a few helicopters on his table in the office, and he said, "I'm looking for the helicopters." And I said, "I have a connection to Russia."
Well, and what time at what point had the Soviet Union collapsed at that? Like, where are these helicopters coming from?
Oh, he was looking all different helicopters to get, because in that time, Juan was looking to get. I didn't know that he was looking not for the helicopters. In that point, he was looking for the turbines from the helicopters.
Why?
Because they were putting this in the speedboats. The turbines from the helicopters and the speedboats were flying. The Coast Guard would never catch them.
Okay.
They were flying those boats. They were going on 90, 100, 110, 20 miles an hour on the water. They were flying.
So he's building boats.
He was building,
selling them to smugglers.
Exactly.
To what? To go out and meet.
No, to deliver.
And they what? So they take them out and they meet like people from Colombia. They load them up and they speed them back, because they're not, a speedboat's not going all the way to Colombia.
No,
they got to meet somebody.
Correct.
Load them up and then then be able to outrun the Coast Guard at that time.
But in that time, they were doing the speedboats. They were taking 10 speedboats and they were putting them, on such a short lead, from each other.
Right.
And putting lights on the first boat, on the last boat, and then you from the side you look like a big commercial vessel. You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
And then let's say the airplane were passing by and they said, "Oh, we see the commercial vessel, going slow towards Miami." And those guys had all the radio stations and everything. And then the guy said, "We're not expecting any boat right now, commercial boat going towards Miami." And then they said, "Okay, let's send the Coast Guard to check what is this." And then when they were listening that Coast Guard coming close, they were cutting all the cables turning towards Miami, and 10 boats going on a high speed towards Miami.
And back then, this is the 90s. This is the DEA had just been started a few years ago. They don't have boats.
Maybe 2 boats were getting caught.
Yeah. I was going to say they don't have
8 boats were making to the shore.
Well, I think initially the Coast Guard they didn't have the boats to catch anything at that time.
No.
It wasn't until later that.
But then, they start bringing drugs. In that time in Miami, you could knock on any door, especially in Hialeah, in the area where it was my club. You knock on any door, and you just could ask old lady, "Excuse me, lady, you have a kilo?"
Right.
I said, "Yeah, I have a kilo. I have a couple of kilos." Because because they was knocking on every door and they was stashing everywhere. It was so much in Miami. Like I said, I swear to God, I asked mechanic. I was saying, "Angel, do you have a kilo?" He said, yeah, I have it in my office. A kilo, I don't need it. It's right there. You can grab a kilo because we were selling, or whatever. Everybody had a coke. And things were doing good. Club was doing good. Everything was doing good. And when I met Juan told me, "Listen, how about we're going to look for some helicopters in Russia because they were cheaper." And we decided to go trip to Russia. And me and Juan, we went to Russia. We saw the helicopters. Then we saw some other things. And back and forth. Then I remember we came back to Miami and Juan said, "I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. Let's go." And we went to Apaloca Airport, took a Learjet and flew to Cancun. We said, we're going to meet the guy in Cancun. And we were sitting in a restaurant, having a couple of tequilas. Some guy came to Juan, spoke to him, and Juan said, "Let's go. My friend is waiting for us in Ecuador." I said, "We're in Mexico." But the airplane was right there waiting for us. We went to the airport, and the airplane took us to Ecuador. We went to Ecuador. By the airport, we found some place, some bar or whatever. We were waiting there. And then some guy came to Juan, said something, and Juan said, "We need to fly to Venezuela." I said, "What is this all about?" We're flying all those countries. Anyway, we end up in Venezuela, in Caracas, in Hilton, and that's where I met Tony first time. And I love that guy. He's an incredible guy, funny, smart, always talking very funny. I love this guy. He's intelligent. But I have to tell,
was he wanted? Is that why so he's wanted?
Exactly. Tony was wanted. He was running away for over 20 years from government.
From the U.S. government?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
or just
US government because
Tony
was private pilot for Pablo.
Okay.
For Pablo Escobar, and Tony was one of the people who is in charge of some areas or some countries where they delivered drugs.
Do you realize this at that time?
No, of course not.
Okay.
I didn't care who would. He was a super guy. I liked him. It was
the relocating, the going from one guy. That would have raised some questions.
No, of course, but who cares? It's fun. It's fun. It's at the sugar with the cherry on the top. Exactly. It's excitement. It's something interesting. I'm always looking for those operations, like a military operation. It's cool. And I love the guy, and Juan was a very cool guy. And we all hit together, 3 of us. It was a lot of fun. And Tony asked for some Russian motorcycles. And me and Juan, we took off next week to Russia to look for the Russian motorcycles. And we got like 150,000, made the deal to buy 150,000 motorcycles. We sold them in Ecuador and Argentina. We bought them $100, $170 a motorcycle. In that time,
ship them back.
Yeah, in that time, Yamaha equivalent cost 1,000. And we bought them. Then we went back to Russia and we bought bicycles, $2 bicycle, and we sold them to Mexico, 100,000 bicycles to Mexico for we bought for $2, we sold for $10.
And all of this is because the Soviet Union has collapsed,
and everything's
for sale.
Exactly.
Right, because they're going under.
Exactly. Then we got order for dump trucks, and it was a strange order for dump trucks because we bought dump truck $15,000 equivalent dump truck, was costing New York $100,000, heavy duty dump trucks. And then.
And you're paying
14,000.
And what are you selling them for?
We were selling them for 50, 60, something decent price. But not that. That was the first time that I got a little bit confused, because I asked which way we're going to deliver the dump trucks to Colombia. And Juan said by the airplanes.
That's a hell of a...
We're going to fly dump trucks in an airplane?
It's like the weight of a tank.
No, not only that. No, that was not the problem. The airplanes were delivering that. Who is delivering dump trucks on the airplane?
Yeah.
You put it on a boat, that to make it cheaper, but they didn't care. And the flight cost like $300,000, the flight. I said, to buy dump trucks for 14, to fly them for $300,000? Something didn't match there.
Yeah,
and
so
then
these guys have money to burn. Who's burning money like that?
Here we go.
Yeah.
And then
why would you spend $30,000? Why spend $300 unless money's not an object?
Exactly, because then I start to realize that we're working for somebody very, very big. Because next time where we met, it was a question of we can deliver 6 helicopters. And we actually delivered. Now we knew how to fly the dump trucks. We flew the helicopters. That was the preparation to fly the helicopter, to see where it's going to go, how it's going to go, who's going to check, who's going to, you understand? Mm-hmm. That was the preparation. I'm always telling an interesting story that we see a lot of movies. We see a lot of movies about drugs and cartels and Mexican cartel and Colombian cartel and everything. But you know what? Nobody tell us, hypothetically, you're the sniper. You're a good sniper in military.
Okay.
You finish your military service. You finish your 4 years, 5 years, 8 years contract. What do you do?
Yeah, there's not a lot of calling out, or not a lot of necessity for a sniper in civilian
Very
world,
good.
right?
Where do you think the snipers goes?
I mean, I'd like to think they become police officers and security.
Kind of. A lot of guys from special forces, special engineering, a lot of guys who is creating military operations from the headquarters, a lot of radio guys, IT guys, they're getting hired by the cartels.
Yeah.
And we're talking about not only American military, we're talking about European military, Russian, Israeli, everybody. I saw people in the cartel from all different countries. They have like their own military. And did you ever saw the movie about that?
No, but I know I've written several stories about the cartel, and I know that the original Zetas.
Exactly, they're all military people.
Yeah,
they creating military operations. That mean army fighting against army. That mean the D.E.A. or FBI or whatever. They're much less equipped or much less than that army over there. Mm-hmm. They're always in a lose-lose situation. You understand? That's why so much drugs, because they equip much better. They're working for a lot of money. I mean, how much officer of the FBI officer's salary? What, 5,000? 7, 10, 15, 20? How much is a month?
What, a month?
Yeah, we're talking about.
Yeah, I'd say initially they're probably starting around 60, maybe after 5 years
probably,
they're making 90.
Probably.
Special agent.
Those guys making 50,000 a month.
Yeah.
Their salary, 50,000 a month. Now, who's better? Who is trained? Who is motivated?
Right.
You understand? Now,
now they're getting all this Russian equipment in.
Exactly. Now, those guys start getting even more, and they start asking this. Yes, we deliver 6 helicopters to Cali, and the helicopters were made for transporting the drugs, because when we were ordering the helicopters, we asked to put more, tanks for the gas and to rip the seats and all that equipment. And you understand that means to make it lighter. And the 6 helicopters end up at Pablo's disposition. They got them. And in some point, And me and Juan, we flew again. And then we went don't want to get too much into that story, but we went into the jungles and we met the people, and people asked if this is any slightly possibility to buy a submarine.
Right.
And then I said, fuck, this is incredible situation.
I was going to say, I'm glad you said that. So I was just going to say, listen, that, we talked about this before, right? When we were talking about, I was saying, like, everybody's got a story, right? Like, even the guy that graduated high school, went to college, met his wife, maybe they fell in love, maybe there was a romance story there. It's like some stories are worth telling. Everybody's got probably an interesting story. Some are worth telling, some aren't. And I was saying how I've always found criminal stories interesting. But I'm wondering, because even when I was committing crime, there were moments, just certain moments, not all the time, but certain moments when I kind of stopped and thought, this is insane. Like what's happening right now is not normal. This is like, I realized it became kind of surreal, where you kind of looked down at yourself and thought, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is not a normal life you're living right now. Like, at that moment, were you realizing, like, am I about to try and fucking buy a sub?
No,
Did I just ship in a helicopter? Like,
no,
this is insanity.
Yeah, whatever you're saying, yes, it's acceptable, understandable, but I want you to understand. If you remember from the beginning, I said I'm the mission guy. I'm looking for the mission, and I need to complete that mission. To me, I didn't see nothing illegal what I'm doing.
Right.
I didn't see nothing to buy a submarine, and it's like you selling a car. I mean, in that car, somebody can transport weapons, body, this, that, whatever. I mean, kidnap people. I'm selling a car.
Right.
What do you do with the car? It's your business. To me, mission was to get this, to make it possible. Whatever can be done later with that, it was not my...
Well, I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying illegal. Just the insanity of thinking,
But it was incredible. You understand? Incredible, because it was, wow. When is the last time you heard somebody going and buying a submarine?
Right.
This is... I want to tell you, first time I realized the jeopardy. First time. It's when the Colombians said, we're going to give you carte blanche. That means unlimited amount of money. Go get and bring this to us. But we want to see it's true, that you can get this. Now, me and Tony going to St. Petersburg, we buying illegal paperwork that we, some scientists, and we going to military base. You understand, in St. Petersburg exists an island that you cannot get to this island. It's kind of secret island, and only with the special paperwork, because the nuclear base, submarine base, it's right there on this island.
Right.
That means we need to take a boat from St. Petersburg to get to that island. We need a particular paperwork. Now we get it. We bought this paperwork. We bought those permissions. We got to that island. Now from that island, we need to go into the secret base. How do you go in a secret nuclear base? Can you imagine that? I mean, that is incredible. And we taking with us as a captain of the submarine, retired, and a retired admiral, and an existing admiral, and we're all going in one car. And when the admiral showed the paperwork, his badge, in a base, because the KGB was taking care of the security of that base, and they looked at us and they said, "Who are those people?" And they said, "They're with us," because Tony had African passport, me had Israeli passport. If they would catch us with those paperwork, right, that would be kind of very not pleasant. And we ending up in a secret base. We're passing through. We're going to the submarine. Me and Tony going down in the submarine, existing submarine, and I cannot believe this. All the 60, 70 Navy guys standing inside, giving us the salute, and we passing by through the submarine, and the guy telling the captain, say, here's the torpedoes, here's the missiles, Here is this, here is that. I cannot believe what I see. And I'm telling to the captain, and how are we going to be able to buy this? And he telling me that we're going to be able to write off that it's a leak, that submarine has a leak. But you understand, the submarine has a leak. Nobody's kind of welding this, nobody repairing.
And it sunk.
It sunk.
Right.
It's gone. That's how we could buy this the sub.
But this is an older Soviet diesel sub.
This is older, but right. It's existing. It's in a service.
Oh, right. But I'm saying are the missiles that are on there? It's torpedoes, but are the missiles that are on there? Are they nuclear missiles?
Probably not.
Okay.
That was not a nuclear submarine. It was
well, you could have a non-nuclear submarine.
Do. We were not, like I said here, we were trying to stay away from the weapons.
Yeah.
We were trying to stay away. We just wanted the vehicle. And then I remember me and Tony were coming from the submarine. I want to tell, from the bottom of the submarine to climb, we were climbing probably 4 minutes. It's a 7-story building.
Right.
You know, we were climbing to the top, and then when we got to the top, Tony told me we need to take a picture. And I said, Tony, we cannot get a camera. It's a secret base. And he said, without the picture, we're not going to get the money. You need to take a picture. And I came to the submarine commander and I said, I have to take a picture. And he said, you can't. We're going to be all arrested. I said, I must. I said, I'm going to give you right now $200. $200 they were making probably in 3-4 months. $200, the captain. You understand? I took the money out. I put this in his pocket. I took the small camera and I started taking the pictures.
Right.
All the pictures I did. Whatever was picture of the sub, whereas Tony standing in it, I took the picture. And then the problem occurred when we were leaving the base. Those guys called the headquarters.
The KGB?
Yeah, and he said we were not supposed to be there. We didn't have no entrance, and the guy said, we're not going to let you go. And me and Tony, we were looking at each other saying goodbye. Because to get, me with the camera, with the pictures of the submarine, it's espionage, you understand? It's 15, 20 years, especially in the Russian jail. We were like really worried. But the captain came out and were fighting an admiral, told him, listen to me, you're a major. Open the gate immediately. You're getting order from the admiral. And the guy opened the gate.
Nice.
And when we ran away. And then we sent those pictures to Colombia.
Can I real quick, ask a question? Like Tony's wanted internationally. And is he traveling on his own passport? He's
no,
got like a
Tony
fake,
Tony had 40 passports,
I know,
if not 140
right.
passports.
I should know that.
Yeah, with 1,000 names I can call Tony to find out right now. I can call and find out how many passports he has.
It's funny. One of my my charges, I have two of my charges. My fraud charges is application for a false passport and use of a false passport, because I had almost 24 passports issued by the State Department in different people's names.
Amazing.
So they're really not that difficult.
Exactly.
But I've never gone to anybody that could make a passport and have it pass muster. But then in other countries, same guy issuing the legitimate ones is probably issuing the illegitimate ones. It goes right in the computer, and so. Yeah. And this was a long time ago. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah. Anyway, he did a great job, and he delivered the pictures, and we got the carte blanche. We said that submarine cost $35 million, but I made the deal for $5 million, which
you made the deal to the admiral or the captain.
Yeah,
for
$5
million?
Said that I'm gonna buy this for $5 million. But I told Tony and Juan that I'm getting this for $10 million because I was trying to rob it, $5 million to myself. And I didn't know, but Tony was trying to rob me and Juan, and he told Colombians much more. Tony was trying to rob $10 million. Juan was also trying to rob, but he didn't have no choice because Tony was working with the Colombians. I was working with the Russians.
Right.
And Juan was in between. He couldn't grab anything. And the deal was almost done. The biggest problem was we were supposed kind of to take. I found a captain who in 1961, if you remember, missile crisis, a lot of Russian submarines were standing right there in front of the port of Miami with the open torpedoes. They were ready to shoot any boat. Nothing came out from port of Miami, otherwise the Russians would shoot them because they were expecting that some military ships going to come. And the Americans knew the Russian submarine there. And one of those captains who came from Russia, and the submarine was near Miami and near Cuba, he's the one who said he knows the way how to get here. And we hired the guy. He said he has another, he don't need the crew of 35 people. He said crew of 15 people going to be good enough.
So 15 people are just going to stay on the sub?
Yeah. Yeah, and they can do the work to bring the sub here to Miami.
So the goal is to bring the sub to Miami and
then
then
be able to... No, the goal was
to...
not to bring, that's what the government said. The goal was...
To go to Colombia, pick up drugs, bring it back to Miami or somewhere.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay, so so what happens to these guys? So Tony's saying, hey, it's $35 million. They're going to give so much money up first. Yes. Is this like a wire, or is this somebody with briefcases of money?
No, they gave us Black American Express, which was unlimited, and the money was in Switzerland and Paribas Bank, and
so this is $10 million.
No, it was.
I don't know.
A lot of more millions.
Okay.
They just said use whatever you need. Whatever we need. We could take. In some point, me and Juan, we came to Russia flying. I had $1 million in my bag, and he had $1 million in his bag. That was down payment for the helicopters. Nobody checked us.
What I'm saying is, because in the documentary, it says that I guess that Tony had gotten at some point they had. I don't know if this. I thought it was like 10 million, and Tony got the 10 million.
Correct.
And takes off.
Correct.
At what point do you know that happened?
I didn't know that at all because I trust Tony completely. I didn't know that, but you see, Tony had inside information, because again, it's a lot of things we know about the cartels and a lot of things we did know. Some cartels are getting dissolved. Some guys getting killed. And Tony got the inside information that cartel that were planning to get the sub is getting destroyed, and that's the reason he was able to grab the money. Cartel never forgive.
Right. He felt comfortable. He felt like they were going to be wiped out soon.
Exactly.
Is this Mexican cartels or Cuba or Colombian cartels? Okay.
Yeah. It was a Colombian cartel because, like I said again, we know or we think that we know how many cartels. Again, nobody knows how many cartels exist.
Yeah, well, they're fragmented. They're constantly breaking off.
Not everybody have like a symbol. We are Mexican or Colombian cartel by the name, Green Dragon or whatever.
Right. So, okay. Another question is, so where are you when you get the phone call? The money's missing.
I didn't know that till the end. I never heard about it because...
Until when? What do you mean?
Until I got out of jail. I never heard about the money because I was arrested.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. Yeah, when were you arrested?
No, I was arrested because, you see, I was bringing all the specs and pictures of the sub and everything. It was on my table in the office in Porky's. And in that time, some undercover agents become my friends. It was a Russian undercover agents, a lot of them. They become my friends, and they were sitting in my office. They were taking pictures, looking this, taking that, stealing my pictures. And I got arrested before anything had happened.
So before the deal was even supposed to go through, you get what did they lightly knock on your door and ask you to come downtown, or did they raise you?
I took my daughter. I lived in Mystic Point in Aventura, and I took my daughter to kindergarten. And when I was leaving the kindergarten, I saw a police car with the two guys inside. Now, in Miami, usually one guy. Now, when I saw two guys, it was gling, 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 gling. And I understood that, something is wrong. And I had 2 guns on me. And I took 2 guns, put in a glove compartment. I had the license. And on the way, they stopped me. Police car stopped me. They were checking my license, but I knew I didn't do nothing. I was driving slow. And I told them I have a gun, 2 guns. And then two FBI cars came and kind of picked me up. And they told me, they brought me to FBI office. And the first questions they were asking me, where's the bodies? And I said, what bodies? We want to know where you're putting the bodies. Bodies of who? Who is missing? Show me some pictures. I mean, did I kill somebody? You need to tell us where's the bodies. Then you need to tell us this. Then you need to tell us that. It was 12 agencies, more. It was FBI, D.E.A, Secret Service, who else?
ATF.
Immigration, ATF. Everybody want to take a piece of butt, and I didn't understand what they want. Because if you ask me, did we ever deliver drugs? Yes. Brought from Ecuador to Russia, from Peru to Italy. I didn't have nothing to do with the United States.
Right.
Never made anything in the United States. And in my opinion, the government didn't have nothing against me. They arrested me, and they kept me 4 years without a trial.
I didn't know that.
Of course, they didn't have nothing against me.
What are the charges though?
31 count.
Of what? What?
Anything. Stolen liquor, stolen money, fake money, prostitution, drugs. 31 count. Every lawyer told me they want to kill you, bury you, then get you out, burn you, bury you, then get you out. 31 count. Who's getting 31 count?
Right.
You understand that? And I was facing minimum mandatory 35 years. And but a lot of miracle happened. One of the miracles, something very interesting happened. I'm Jewish, and it was such a guy by the name Rabbi Lubavitcher Rabbi. His name was the last Rabbi Menachem Meir Schneerson. And when he was alive, 770, I forgot the name of the street in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn. And I went to see him. I was waiting 6 hours in a line to see that rabbi, to shake his hand. And this rabbi was giving $1 to each person. They were giving every day $300,000-$400,000 away, just because so many people were waiting to see him, to touch him, that he was touching. And standing in the line, I bought his picture. And when I got in jail, I had his picture. And I put his picture on the wall. And I had my bunkie, a guy was with me, some Israeli guy who was kidnapped from Colombia. The FBI kidnapped him from Colombia for money laundering. They came in Colombia, and Cali said, Mr. Eli, he said, yeah, you put the shot, and kidnapped him, took him as a drunk driver or whatever.
Listen, you know how many times people will tell me, like, when you were on the run, why didn't you leave the United States? I'm like, bro, you don't think they'll come get you?
Absolutely.
No, go to a country where they don't have extradition. You know how many guys I met?
Exactly. They kidnapped this guy and 0 extradition.
Yeah.
And everything was cool. Nobody cared.
Extradition means that the country will pick them up for the United States. Non-extradition means the United States will just go in there and kidnap them.
Exactly. That's how it works.
Yeah.
They kidnapped this guy, and actually we even had the same lawyer, but then he lost, and he got 20 years. And he told me, lose this lawyer. But in that time, I remember probably first time telling that story right now, and the rabbi came in my dream. In that time, Rabbi already was dead. He died from old age. And he came in my dream, and he told me something. And I told him, Rabbi, you need to tell me this 10 times loud, because I do not remember my dreams. And he's telling me 10 times loud. Waking up in the morning and I remember the dream. I'm calling the rabbi who was coming, we have a Jewish rabbis from Aleph Institute who is visiting all the Jewish inmates in all jails, bringing them, for holidays.
Yeah.
Some food.
They take care of them.
Taking care of them. They praying together. And the rabbi, he came to me. His name was Rabbi Berkovich. He was running, Chabad in Miami Beach. Amazing guy, great guy, helped me a lot. And he came and I told him, listen, the rabbi came to me in dream and he told me. And he told me something in Hebrew, message. And Rabbi Berkovich telling me, wow, it's amazing. He said 1 million people would pay millions that Rabbi going to come to them in dream. And Rabbi only didn't come to you, he also spoke to you. I said, incredible. I know whatever I'm going to tell you right now sound like a fairy tale. But again, this is 100% true story. And he wrote everything. He told me, tell me where he was standing. Tell me where you were standing. Tell me what he was wearing. Tell me what you were wearing. Tell me how he spoke to you. And he took all the information. And he left to New York. He went to talk to the high rabbis in New York, in Brooklyn. He came after 3 days. And he gave me a hug and he said, you didn't know, but you're the messenger. We get the message from a rabbi. It's incredible. He said, whatever you did, you're the messenger. And for that, in return, we already made the deal upstairs, and you're free.
What's the message? What was it? What did he tell you?
Cannot tell you.
You can't.
And he said, it's incredible, but we already made the deal. And I said, listen, don't fuck with me. What do you mean? You brought the key from a jail or what? What do you mean you made the deal? He said, everything is done. You're free. You're going to be free. I'm telling you, I'm already 4 years in jail, and I'm facing minimum mandatory 35 years. Minimum mandatory, I'm facing 35 years. That means judge cannot give me less than 35.
Yeah.
He can give me more.
I know what
you got
mandatory
it. You know that. I'm just trying to explain to the people who is unfamiliar what is this minimum mandatory. Anyway, he said, it's one thing, though. You're going to need to change your lawyer. And you need to hire a Jewish lawyer because the God going to talk through the lawyer. I said, come on, man. Stop fucking with me. Stop telling me those stories. God going to talk through him, and he's going to talk through you, and this one going to stop. Come on, give me something that makes sense. Don't tell me that bullshit. And the guy said, listen, you're the messenger. You need to accept that. I said, okay. He said, we're going to bring you a lawyer. What do you think? 2 days passing by, they're bringing me a lawyer. And I said, how you doing? How are you? And the guy said, my name is Bruce. How you doing, Bruce? And he told me, well, I said, what kind of lawyer you are? He said, I'm a divorce lawyer. I said, excuse me? My case is I was in 100 most dangerous people in the United States. My case is one of the biggest cases in the United States. And you divorce lawyer? He said, oh, I'm also slip and fall lawyer. Oh, I said, that definitely helps. I mean, now for sure I'm going to hire you. I'm telling Berkovich, what's going on with you? He said, listen, he don't need to know too many things. God going to talk through him. I said, you know what, guys, both of you, thank you so much. I didn't want to see them for a while because, I got so upset and so angry. At least don't tell me that bullshit, I mean, we can talk normal. Anyway, by that time, I already fired my 6th lawyer. I had 6 lawyers. Each one of them was getting from me $650,000, $600,000, $500,000. They didn't want to take less. Me, probably I shouldn't say this, but if I would hurt somebody, I would hurt all of those 6 lawyers who stole money from me.
Right.
Stole because all of them knew from the beginning how it was going to end up. They all knew how it was going to end up. They never prepared. They never were getting ready because they knew they're not going to win. They knew, none of them told me. They were robbing me. They're robbing people like every other lawyer. I'm always saying every lawyer, especially criminal, and every prosecutor should serve in jail for 6 months. And then they're supposed to or defend people or accuse people. But both of those professions, they must be in jail to understand what's happening in jail and how we're getting rehabilitated in jail.
Yeah, no,
because I believe that those motherfuckers and those motherfuckers, you understand? I mean, it's a horror story. But again,
sixth lawyer, the personal injury attorney.
Yeah, sixth lawyer, and I end up with the personal. And I understood that I didn't have no more money because the government, what they do? They're arresting your money without nobody found you guilty, but they're arresting your money. That means they're arresting your money and you cannot defend yourself. Why would they arrest my money if I'm not found guilty?
Right.
Where's the logic to arrest my money? How can I defend myself without arresting? Without money. I mean, completely bullshit. But again, who am I? I decided to talk to that slip and fall lawyer, and tell him what is my options. He's telling me, listen, I cannot take you to trial. I don't understand nothing about that. But trust me, God gonna talk through me. And I said, shut up. And then I said, okay. I said, go talk to prosecutor. I want to cooperate. To cooperate, I needed to talk about Juan and what Juan was doing. And Juan was motherfucker. Why? I've been in jail 4 years. 4 years he didn't help my daughter. I had 4 years old daughter without the medical insurance, without anything. He didn't help me. I was begging. I was asking, why wouldn't you give a couple of dollars, give $150, $200 for food, for this, for that? She was living with all different people. He said that his lawyer advised him not to give money. I said, you're not supposed to give money. Somebody else, somebody on the street can give it the money. Don't bullshit me. And he never gave. At some point, he sent $500, a check, and I returned this check to him. And I said, fuck you. And fuck you, or everybody who is around you over there. Because
I was gonna say, what's funny?
What?
Your lawyer's telling you not to help me. My lawyer's telling me. So if we're gonna listen to our lawyers, my lawyer's telling me to fucking cooperate against you. So if that's what you're going, my lawyer said to cooperate.
Anyway, in some point, I felt kind of bad about the guy because he's still my partner, I still liked him, he's a fucking asshole, but at some point I still kind of liked him. And I spoke to his lawyers, and their lawyers understood that I'm going to cooperate, and they gave me the questionnaire, what they're going to ask me. And they gave me answers, what I need to answer. Anyway, of course, prosecution did know about that we're making deal behind them. That's why I said in some of the interview that we outsmarted the government. And then when I went to testify against Juan, I was answering exactly the way his lawyers asked me to answer, and Juan won the trial.
Right.
He won the trial because I helped him to win the trial. I took guilty on something. That means we were charged on the same thing. I was guilty and he found not guilty on the same thing. In that time when he went to talk to my slip and fall lawyer, went to talk to a prosecutor, he told them that they want 15 years for me. And they want, the $12 million. And they want whatever, I had. And they took from me 3 houses, 5 or 6 apartments, 7 cars. I bought my car from Rod Stewart. I had a Ferrari from Rod Stewart. I had a motorcycle from Sylvester, I had all those, toys, and they took everything and gave me only 15 years. Good people. And I spoke to my mom. My mom said, listen, you're already 4 years inside without a trial. You're 4 years inside, probably good behavior another year, and you just need to make another 9 years, and that's it.
Yeah.
Fuck, just another. How does it sound? It sounds so fast. 9 years. Can you imagine?
Yeah. It's,
9 years. You understand?
I can't
me.
imagine.
You've been there. You understand what is this torture? You know,
it's a long time.
Long time. 9 years. But I agree. I didn't have no choice.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's it. I pleaded guilty. Everything is blah, blah, blah. And then I needed to go to sentencing. Night before sentencing. I couldn't sleep. But I'm in federal jail downtown Miami. And, I couldn't sleep. And I knocked the door. And the guy came and I said, can you lock me in a prison library? They locked me in the prison library. And I 1,000 books over there, and I'm going between the books, and I'm finding a book, checking. And then I found a little tiny book. It says guidelines. I don't know why I even picked up that book. And I'm checking, and I'm looking, and it's interesting. One of the half of the book, it says, if they catching you with something, and half of the book, if they not catching you with anything. Now, the guidelines completely different. I was charged with 40 tons of drugs. Charged. But it was a conspiracy. That means it was not there, the 40 tons of drugs. That means the guideline should be different. It's called dry conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Dry conspiracy where the drug was not even there, was not planned. And I see the guidelines is different. And something hit me. It was a paragraph 49. Something hit me and I said, it's incredible. Oh my God, I think something is wrong. Somebody lied to me. Somebody not telling me the truth. Something is definitely going on behind my back because guidelines are different. I'm nervous, angry, knocking back, they bringing me back to the cell, 5 o'clock in the morning, taking shower, and they're taking me to Fort Lauderdale Federal Court. My judge is a black judge. Everybody told me that if somebody will pick up a judge, handpick, that would take this judge. One of the fairest judge between all of them. His name is Wilkie Ferguson. Today, the federal court in Fort Lauderdale named Wilkie Ferguson after this guy. And I'm going in front of the judge and with my divorce lawyer, and I want to see the picture. How is this going to work? I see everybody is there. My rabbi is also there. And then some Kabbalah guy came from New York, older guy, Kabbalah guy. You know what is a Kabbalah?
No.
It's a Jewish secret mystery. You never heard that? I mean, it's like abracadabra, something like that.
Okay, like a mystic. Okay.
Mystic. Those people know how to do things. Read Kabbalah. Just check it. I mean, you're going to love what you're going to see. Anyway, the judge come and he said, are you guilty? And I said, are you guilty? I said, yes, judge, I'm guilty. Okay, you guilty? And the prosecutor said, the plea bargain agreement is here. We're forfeiting for him this business and that. I own 23 businesses in that time. All different businesses. Legally. Mm-hmm. Making money, legally paying taxes, everything. 23 businesses. They want to take all the businesses, my real estate, my money, my everything, and they're just giving me 15 years. That's it. Not 35. Good people. And then everything is done, basically, and judge is saying a last word, and I'm getting up, and I'm so nervous that I'm calling my lawyer, and I'm telling him, Bruce, I saw today in the morning paragraph 49, and paragraph 49 says that they're not giving me the right time. And judge said, what's going on over there? And my lawyer turning around and proudly answering, because God's talking through him, saying, Judge, that gentleman saw today a book, and it says, paragraph 49, that they charging him the wrong guideline. And judge said, paragraph 49 in what book? And lawyer asked me, what book? I said, Bruce, I don't know what book. I don't know, some guidelines. I don't know what book, but I saw. And the guy said, hold on. What are you trying to tell me? And lawyer said, he saw something and explained to him what I saw. Judge said, you know what? I'm taking 15 minutes recess. Find me that paragraph and present it to me. I want to look at it. And he's leaving. Me, we don't have nothing on the table. Nothing. Empty table. And now my life is running in front of my eyes. You know, I'm devastated. 15 minutes pass by. They're saying, court is coming, you know, get up. We all got up. Judge came. He sit in his chair. And he said, I'm proceeding. While I was in my chamber, I found the paragraph 49. Everybody in court said, what? Judge found the paragraph 49? And my judge said, Ms. Fernandez, my prosecutor, get up. She got up and he said, Ms. Fernandez, when you were charging him with the 40 tons of drugs, where did he get the amount of drugs? And she said, Judge, we calculated if you will take the missiles and torpedoes out of the submarine, the capacity of the submarine can carry 40 tons of drugs. Judge said, what? That's how you got 40 tons of drugs? And you accuse him? Ms. Fernandez, and what if he would buy a Boeing 747 with 100-ton capacity? How would you charge him? And she said, oh, Judge, I would charge him with 100 tons of drugs. I said, wow, really interesting. And what if he would buy a ship, Ms. Fernandez? I would charge him. And he said, you dumb, Ms. Fernandez. And she said, Judge, how are you talking to me? And he said, sit down, this is my courtroom. Sit right there. People were in shock. Whatever was happening there, we could not believe. Can you imagine? Judge is fighting with the prosecutor? We were looking at that, and then judge looked like that. Me, my heart, doo-dum, 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 doo-dum. I'm looking at him, looking this, looking. And then judge writing something, taking this thing. He said, Mister, you're free to go.
He let you go? So what was it? He gave you time served? Time served. So you were found guilty, but time served.
I signed plea bargain agreement, 15 years.
Right.
And he told me, you're free to go. I cannot even tell you what happened in my heart. First thing, the white thing can bloom. The first thing I did, I jumped over the table and I ran to kiss the judge. Matt, they hit me so hard.
I was going to say, it's not.
They hit me so hard. They pepper spray, and they was beating me with those sticks. And they arrested me again. They handcuffed me. I was running to kiss the judge. Nobody could believe what happened. I turned around, and my rabbi said, I told you, everything was made up upstairs after you gave us the message. Honest truth that God gonna help me, in everything what I do. That's completely true story. You never heard a story like that.
No.
You're never gonna hear a story like that. You would not believe, nobody in a court believe what happened. Nobody could even anticipate something like that. I left. I asked voluntarily to be deported from United States. I didn't want to live in this country any longer. After everything I found out, everything I saw, after all the garbage and the bullshit and lies and made up stories, after everything what happened to me, I didn't want to stay in this country one day. I had the green card was revoked. I was supposed to get American citizenship was revoked. Everything was revoked on a made up stories. Everything was done to me. They knew exactly what they're doing. They were punishing me because I was a rich guy, successful guy. And I was a very good example to everybody. I didn't do nothing wrong in the United States. Never bought drugs, never sold drugs, never did anything in the United States, outside of the country. Yes, I am guilty. Yes, I can say this by now. I did things outside of the United States. We can talk and talk and talk and talk, and we're probably going to meet again. I'm enjoying your company. You're a really cool guy. I see the way you're taking my story. I see that you're not you're giving shit about that. I mean, and you understand me completely. I'm gonna finish my story with one more thing. I was deported to Israel, where I wanted to be deported. I was flying with the handcuffs. I don't know, like I would be jumping. I was free, but they transported me with the handcuffs. It's like almost 10-hour flight. And, agent who took me, he was falling asleep and I was waking up, pulling my, the bracelet.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above, that's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every GhostBed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your GhostBed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a GhostBed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which ghost bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide.
When they got to Israel, he brought me with the handcuffs to the police station in airport, and the officers right away told him, take the handcuffs immediately away from him. He is not guilty in this country. Took off. All the newspapers, Israeli newspapers, were full of a story. Our godfather came back. The friend of Pablo Escobar is finally arriving. It was such a publicity for me in the newspapers that I didn't pay in any restaurant for 3 months. I didn't pay for the taxi, for the bus. Nobody want to charge the money from me. Everybody were running after me just to take the autograph, just for me to sign something for them because I was like a celebrity. I opened a nightclub in Tel Aviv, and I was released in 1999. By the end of 1999, almost one new year, I received a call from my lawyer. He said one of the retired FBI agents wanted to talk to me. From the time I was released till then, it was 3-4 months. And then the guy called me, and he said, my name is Robert Levinson. I'm a retired FBI agent. I'm the one who started the investigation against you. And I'm retired, and I would like to if you can do me a favor, if you can answer a question. And I said, why would I? He said, it's a private question, have nothing to do actually with the case. And I said, go ahead. And he said, I need your opinion. I said, all right. He said, please, you probably even didn't know about that. But in your case, we have 7 dead bodies. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, after you were released from jail, your prosecutor died in age of 43. Judge died of age of 42. This is all in a period 3-4 months. 2 FBI agents who was investigating you died in a car accident in Florida Turnpike. The guy who wrote the book about you, against you, Will, Robert Friedman, died from a very mysterious disease. The main witness against you died on an operational table. He was getting operated, and one of his, vein got clogged, and he died. I want to ask your opinion. I said, are you accusing me of something? And he said, no, you were not even here. I just want to know your opinion. What do you think has happened? I said, wow. Right now it's explained to me. I said, you know what is a boomerang? You know what is a karma? You know what is, Judge, I don't know, to be honest with you. Judge is the one who saved my life, that black guy. He saved my life, but I said, the rest is a karma. I spoke to Robert Levinson in 2000. In 2004, Robert Levinson was kidnapped in Iran and was beheaded. I'm going to finish my story today with that. It is something interesting to look into. Everything what it says is true. You can, check, but I'm sure we're going to meet again.
Yeah, I'm sure. What about your podcast? You're starting a podcast, or
I'm planning. You know what? Maybe you're gonna help us because you mentioned this. I'm planning to start podcast. I don't know if I can allow to say about my club and a bar.
Yeah. Of course, because you came back from Israel. Now you're back in Miami.
Yeah.
You started a new. It's a double club. Really,
yeah, it's
right?
a double club. A restaurant is gonna call Red Submarine. The club, it's a jazz and blues club. It's gonna call Red Note, and it's gonna be under one house place. It's gonna be calling Mr. Tarzan. And starting my podcast and starting to work on some social media, some great group of people helping me, and we're working together on some maybe book deal, movie deal, and like I said again, hope to see you again, and to be in some other different podcasts. But I would like people to watch, Meet Mr. Tarzan on social media, and I'm inviting everybody to a nightclub which called Red Submarine. Inside is going to be like a sub.
Yeah,
with a great food and a show.
When are they opening?
Planning to August, September. Right now, in the middle of building it.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you letting me interview you.
I appreciate you coming down. I appreciate your time. You're a great guy, and we love your podcasts. And good luck with everything you do.
Okay.
My pleasure to meet you.
All right. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, we're going to take all of Tarzan's links for his social media, for the website, for his restaurant. We're going to leave them all in the description box. You can go there, click on it. You can follow him, follow his YouTube channel. You can also go find out where the club is going to be. Check it out. Go by, have dinner, have a drink. Once again, appreciate it so much. Please share the video. Thank you very much. See ya.